We are going to do today is take a look at the next version of Mylio. It's something we've been working on for a good long time, and we're excited by it. And I'm joined by my colleague Deon, and we're going to be taking a look at a lot of different things that we can do using the next version of Mylio. I think you guys are going to like it. And again, we're excited that you're here. So let me just go ahead. My camera's a little soft, but I'll fuss with that later. Hopefully it's not too blurry, but it's a little blurry. I'll deal with it in a second. All right. So I had to switch cameras at the last minute because, of course, everything that has to happen. So thank you guys for coming today. And as we look at this next version of Mylio, we're calling it a Mylio preview. And what we mean by that is it is a functional piece of software that you're going to be able to put in your hands and try out shortly. We'll be sharing information a little bit later in the presentation about what we're expecting to do, but we're really excited by the chances for you to get your hands on this and to give us feedback and tell you a little bit about it. In a second, Deon, if I'm going to actually let you screen share first for just about 5 minutes while I just double check one thing. But we have done some really interesting things with our product. And one of those things, first and foremost, is we wanted to prioritize making the product a little bit more customizable and a little bit more responsive to the types of feedback we've been getting from different users. So what we've done here is we have made it be a program that's easy for you to customize and enjoy. So I'm going to give Deon just a moment if he's ready to show you one quick feature that he loves, and then I'll walk you through a more complete demo. But I'm hoping that what you're seeing here feels both familiar, but you're going to also see a lot of fun and new interesting things that we're quite proud of, and we're going to take a look at some new tools today as well. Go ahead, Deon.
Okay, so one of the things that we've been working hard on with the new Mylio is to have a little bit more of machine learning capabilities locally that we run on your machine. And so everything that I'm going to show you here is not in the cloud. It's all done on my Mac. The inference and the embeddings were done on my Mac. And so nothing going to the cloud, nothing shared even with Mylio. This is just running on your local machine. So one of the new features that we have is the ability, if you click on a picture, to go and see related images. So I've clicked on this passion flower that I have, and then I click on related images, and it shows me related images inside my catalog. Now, this isn't tagged. There's not even smart tags going on. There's no title. There's no description. The file names are obscure. So this is purely a semantic visual similarity match of saying, these are pictures that look like the one that I've clicked on. Now I can carry on and pivot. So if I scroll down, so it'll show me basically through the entire library what it is, what is the closest picture to that. So as I scroll down and down, it'll get further and further away, but then I can pivot again. So I'm now looking at the white lily. So again, now I'm seeing pictures that look like white lilies. And if I scroll down, pictures that look like yellow lilies. Now, eventually I'll go and find a completely different type of picture. Let's look at this flower. So again, it has pivoted towards that. So this is the first type of new search we have inside the application, is to just be able to go to a picture and look at related images. So this is obviously done with a offline scan, and you can run this across all of your devices. And these kind of things obviously take a while to run, but we will distribute it across your devices and eventually aggregate all the data together to show it for your entire library. Okay, so let me
I'm queued up whenever you're ready, Deon. I'll let you, though you're having fun. People are loving what you're showing. So show another feature and then I'll tag team with you.
Okay. So another feature that I can do is on the line of visual similarity match, I can actually express what I'm looking for in text as well. So I'm saying boy on a beach holding a toy. So you can see this is a boy on a beach holding a toy airplane. Now, again, no tagging here. There's nothing inside the picture, inside the file name or anything that says he's holding a toy airplane, but it is basically just doing that based on a textual description of the picture. And it is able to do this because of the semantic visual similarity match that I've scanned on this library beforehand. Okay, Rich, I'll hand this over to you for now.
Sure, sure. All right, well, let me go ahead and share my screen. And are you guys seeing Mylio? Is it coming through for most people?
It is now.
Awesome. Great. So, like I said earlier, we are using a preview version of Mylio, but I've loaded my real library so that you see that that is possible. And I'm going to walk you through some of the improvements and the changes that we have made. But this is just a first look. If we were to go through the entire thing, it would probably take us a good 8 hours. So to that end, I want to point out that Angela, you've got a bunch of fun stuff coming up. You've got events and things scheduled where people can learn about it. And we're going to be doing a whole bunch of extended looks at different features as well. So I just want to point that out, that this is not going to be the only way to learn about Mylio. You're going to get a chance to actually use it in a couple of different ways and see it and get a chance to really dig in. All right, so let's talk about that modernization. So you might have been noticing that the app looks similar to what you're used to, but there are some new buttons and new things. So one of the things that I like to point out is that we've done a little bit of a reorganization. And what I mean by that is we've really thought through where does stuff go so it's easier to find. Now, I'm just trying to get rid of the stupid little zoom button that likes to cover the screen up. Here we go. So our left-hand rail is our tools. And by default, you could choose to see all of the things here in Mylio. Or if you're on a smaller screen, you can actually use a more compact thing. If you just turn off use, always show all these show views. Now you get our compact toolbar, and then you can open things up. So this is also a way to have a little less clutter over here as you might be used to working. And if you find icons hard, you can actually open that up and see an expanded tree view. Or if you want and have lots of room, you can actually come in here and you might have noticed that you can drag things into whatever order you want. So if there's a particular order that you want the tools in, you can actually drag them into that order and then save that and update it if you want. So this gives you that ability to customize your working area and see all sorts of things really easily. And so I'll point that out. Also, we've done a lot to improve the visual improvement of the actual layout. So you see here that we have all sorts of great options, easy to lay out. And if I wanted to, for example, under theme and display, not only can I go from light to dark or dial in different colors, I can load in presets for different options and have things laid out for the UI. You see how easy that is to make changes. But you also can customize things, picking your own favorite accent color. And what I like really down here, which I'm going to do since we're on a webinar, I can make it more spacious and bump up the size of the font. So you can actually control the size of Mylio and make it easier to see things. Okay. Everyone still hear me okay? I see a whole lot of red mics. I'm assuming that just means they're muted, but someone on the staff could just let me know that my audio and picture is coming through okay?
Yep, all good.
Perfect. Okay. So, and if you're trying to find a tool and you want to make adjustments here, all you have to do is start typing and it instantly takes you. So you can find things like, oh, there's the distance units. Oh, there's my date display, right? See how easy it is to find just what you're looking for? And so when you choose that, with just a click, you jump right to that setting and you can make your adjustments. So we've really done a nice job, I think, of making it easier to find your way through things and to be able to customize and make Mylio a more personal experience. You'll find search boxes almost everywhere as you're working. So if you're adjusting your Mylio, your dashboard, or you want to see what's going on with your library or the status, you can go in and make those adjustments. You can go in and see what you're connected to. And you have all sorts of controls there all about Mylio. So it's nice and simple to kind of control as well as find things. So our left-hand panel here is all of our different tools and views. And there's a lot of new things. Some of them are going to come out right away. A few of them that are labeled here in beta aren't quite ready yet. And so those won't be part of the first preview, but we'll release them a little bit later. And I think you can see here how simple it is to navigate and find your way around. So if you start browsing and looking, I'll point out here, let's say I jump in and I'm looking at a folder. And then I realize that, oh, it's not these pictures. I need to pivot. Well, first up, you have breadcrumbs across the top everywhere. And if you click, you can actually just go and pivot right from one of those breadcrumbs. So you can click and make a switch here, and I can switch to another folder at that same level. Or maybe I was up here and I realized that I wanted to switch. I could just choose a different folder. So this way, when you're at a particular level, it's super simple just to pick your way through and find what you're looking for without all of that back, up buttons. You can just very quickly navigate. And so you'll find breadcrumbs on all the views where you have containers, which are things like folders and albums and things like that. And I just love this little shortcut here to be able to navigate in between things super fast. And you can see exactly where you're at. And you've also got your navigation here, forward and back buttons. If you find yourself wanting the traditional method that you had before in Mylio because you're used to going up a level, well, then you could just go under your system settings there and you could turn that on. So you'll just find that ability right there under device appearance, and you can enable that. Just say always show the up button if that's something you want. And again, if I wasn't sure where that was, I could just start typing up. And I'll find, if I spell it correctly, there we go. I could find what I'm looking for, see? So notice how it quickly indexes things. So I could just turn that always show the up button in the nav bar on, if that's something you like. And now you have your up button. Now, here's what's also cool. Know you were somewhere and want to get back there? Just click and you'll see a history of all the pages you visited, just like a web browser. So you can quickly navigate around and get to what you're looking for. Deon, are there any other changes to the sort of navigation that you find enjoyable? I know you and I have spent a lot of time in here, and so it's definitely something we use a lot, but what are some of your ways that you enjoy navigating or moving around?
Um, no, I do like the back and forth. That's kind of one of the first features that I've was excited to add to the product. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite, is the back and forward there.
Yeah, it definitely lets you know where you are, and it even works across views, which is really cool. So as you're working across views, you can quickly recover and get back to what you want to see. And it's really quite cool how easy that is to navigate around and find what you're looking for on those views, which I think is just a useful way to get to your stuff. Okay, so as we finish that out, also you'll find keyboard shortcuts. And one thing that I know a lot of our power users have asked for a long time, Deon, what are we doing now with keyboard shortcuts that people can actually take control over?
Inside Mylio, not
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh, yeah, you can. We let you map
Oh,
them, right?
in the new product, we are allowing users to map the keyboard shortcuts to whatever you want them to be. So if you have, like me, if you use a Colmac keyboard and you want a lot of keys on your left-hand side, you can just go and remap them to have all of your important keys on your left and your mouse on the right.
Yep. And you can even add more than one keyboard shortcut to something. And you can go ahead and save multiple presets. You can back them up to a cheat sheet that you print out. You can export them and then import them. So if you needed to share them with a friend, but the entire keyboard is remappable. And you also have the ability to see all of your menus. And so if you have a computer, or let's say you're setting up Mylio for a family member, and you know there's certain tools they don't need, or maybe there's just a tool you don't like using, you could just turn it off and it will actually hide it from the menu. Or you can go ahead and color code it because maybe there's something you always need to find. Like you're like, well, I really need to know where that tool is. Well, you can go in and actually color code them so they stand out and they're easier to see. So we have done a ton of stuff to make Mylio more visually pleasing to use, as well as fully compatible with a lot of the new accessibility requirements and the guidelines that are out there to make it easier on people's eyes and to find their stuff, or for screen readers and things like that. Tooltips everywhere, lots of stuff. Now we're going to get into other things, but let us know what you think about in the chat, how you guys are feeling about some of these improvements to just the screen and how you can see things. How does that feel? Okay. And just make sure that, cool, I see some of that. Good. Good. I'm glad you guys like that. Cool. All right. So, yeah, we're really trying hard to make it so that it's a more pleasing application to look at and to customize and more personalized. Now, another thing that we've added is more navigation. So no matter what view you're in, you can actually have navigation. So you're in map view, no problem. Open up the navigation panel and you can navigate. You want to go ahead and sort by the name? Great, sort by the names. And now you're sorting by country. And you can drill in and see the different places that you've got photos from. And you can just quickly jump and see. And actually see a navigation tree for your navigation. Or let's say that, you're over in people view. Well, now you actually have groups. So if I want to organize my family members, I can come down to family, for example, and add a group. And I could put multiple people in that group very quickly and add them. And now they're in my family group. Or I can even make sub-albums within that family group, like subgroups for different family members. So it just makes it really easy to organize. So maybe you have multiple things at work. I can make different groups. I can list where my wife works, and maybe she has some people that are her coworkers that she wants to list and put into a group. And I can make a group. She works at a place called Mantua, and I work at a place called Mylio. And so obviously we might have two different work groups, and I can create those groups and add people to those different groups and control it and make it easy to find. So tons of different stuff in there to make it simple. And you'll also find that as you go in and start to work with your info panel, that you can add lots more detail about people. So you can go in and put information in about phone number and email and address. And we had some of that before, but you could just connect to your address book. But we've really reorganized this and made it easier to do things like initiate messages, send calls, keep in touch with people. So tons of features. And for those of you who are used to using Family Search, this is a great way to stay connected with your family. Although, Angela, while I type in a password, what do you use Family Search for?
So I use it to, preserve specific memories of my family and to share resources. So as I'm going through and scanning photos, I upload those memories. That means everybody else in my family, especially for, deceased and previous generations, they can see those same images, they can add context, and then we can, collaborate on all of the details. One of us might upload a birth certificate, one of us might upload a wedding certificate. All of those can be kept in Mylio and then shared directly to Family Search. So it's just a really great way to collaborate and preserve all of those details about our family.
Yeah, and it's a free service to use, so that works really nicely. And notice as I start to connect people here, so if I add things like a Family Search contact or I connect them to other pieces and details, it will actually pick up things like birth dates and ages, and you can choose to see those or not see those. And it'll actually start to show the relationships. And if you don't want to use Family Search, you don't have to. But if you do, it starts to connect. And so you can see here that Michael's mother is Megan and his grandmother's here. And let's say I want to add another relationship. I can go ahead and add a father, which is me. And so I just start to type and I could pick from my tree very quickly. There we go. And here's something that people have been asking for a while. So I added here that I'm his father, right? Now, if I go down and I connect and I look up at my card, I want to point something out. It automatically got the reciprocal relationship. Now, some of you are like, ooh, reciprocal relationships. But the number of you who asked for that feature on the forum multiple times over and over again on webinars and events should be happy that we added that feature. And you can start to connect everyone and see it. And if you connect to Family Search or you connect to your birthday or your address cards, you'll start to see things like birthday reminders or other things. Now, these badges vary by view and they are customizable. So if you don't want to see the current age or the birthday, you can turn them off. And so different views have different features, but this is our personal view or for persons where you can go in and add information about people and really do extensive things, including notes and details and everything else. So let us know what you think about that. And Angela, are there any questions related to person view or anything we want to talk about yet before we switch views?
I mean, there's a ton of questions, but I think most of them can probably be handled towards the end. There is one here for people groups. Could one control the keywords or groups on a spreadsheet and then export or import the data?
I would suggest, so no, but you can import your data from your address book and you can connect your address book, and that's an easy way of doing it. So there's different ways of doing that. So you can look at that. So yeah, consider that. This is something we haven't finished hooking up yet, but we will here. We have the ability to actually connect a family tree. And so we're building that feature out. So if I want and I click, I can actually here, and I'm pulling in my family search data. And look, it did get all of the relationships and I can choose who to keep and not keep. But once I'm logged into family search, I can bring all of that in and it will actually connect and build out my family tree. And I can see the relationships. I can change the type of views. I can look at descendant view or a pedigree chart to see the different relationships as you go following it through. And you can really just really quickly do some pretty awesome stuff with how you view those relationships. So my wife's side of the family as I'm connecting, my side of the family, etc. So you can really do some pretty awesome things here. And you can move that around. So if you want to center it on a particular person, you can select them and then center it and choose who is the center of the tree. And then you can pivot to see those relationships. And so now you see it structured differently. I see ex-husbands, I see her sister, etc. And so you can connect. Now I have to do a little bit more cleanup on this feature, and that's why it's in the beta group. But we're very excited to continue our focus there on the family tree and making that more enjoyable for those of you that do family history or other features. Cool. All right. Collections view. So collections view is a great way to get an overview of all of your stuff. And Deon, I'm going to save the search aspects to let you work with that a little bit later. But collections view is a way to see all of your stuff as well as to customize it. So if you've got favorite people, my most favorite person is my wife. We're going to get that out of the way quick, followed by my two kids. So I'm just pinning them up there, and I could choose to pin it and add it to the favorite. Maybe I've got a project that I'm working on, like this one here for Major League Baseball. I could pin it and it's going to add it up there up top, right? Or I can unpin it depending upon the folder that I want, right? So you can go ahead and choose what is pinned or unpinned. You can come down and look at memories. So memories are, say, here's all these pictures I have from these different days and years. Or maybe I've got a place that I want to see the pictures from, right? So as you look at this and mouse over, you can not only see where the pictures were taken, but you can have a place. So if I am a big fan, I could just add that location and it's going to pin it and put it up there. So I pinned Nationals Baseball Park. So you have a section of your own favorites. You can click customize and again, reorder. You're going to see this in almost every aspect of Mylio. If there's something you don't want, turn it off. Okay? If you want less clutter, turn it off and you can get rid of things that you aren't interested in seeing. If you want to move memories near the top, you can put it right there. If you want to put albums before it, just drag. So you have total control over what is seen and not seen. And with just a click, I could jump to all albums. Want to go back? Just click the back button and you're back. It's that simple. Navigation has gotten so much easier for you to find things. And so these are your albums, your memories, people, and other options. Now, speaking of people, we've got a fun new tool that I'm happy with called Face Search. This lets you choose combinations of people. For example, I want pictures of my son with my mom, and it adds it together. And I have in my library 508 photos of the two of them together. I could see it, get a preview of it. That works pretty well, right? I can scroll through this. This is just the first group. But maybe I want to be more specific. I just want to have pictures with two of them in it, only two faces. And I want my son when he was a little bit older. So he's a young adult. So we want him from teenage years through current. See? And I could adjust the range. Or maybe my mom's feeling sentimental and just wants, really young photos of my son. And I can adjust that. And you instantly see it update up there. Maybe my mom wants to make sure that she's not wearing dark sunglasses. So I could say, oh, no glasses. She doesn't like pictures with herself in glasses. And it updates. And how about eyes open, right? So we could adjust that. My son, he's a squinter. He almost always has his eyes closed a little bit. But now we got down to 84 pictures, right? And you can set other rules. So you've got a tool to help you quickly find combinations of groups. You can set, hey, I'm looking for these 5 people, but I only need to have any 3 of them in the picture. So it's a way to do these fun ways of searching. And we even have AI built into lots of tools where you can just describe what you're trying to do by typing in the chat and let it build a prompt for you. I jump on over to pick and I could see what's there. And right from here, I could decide, I want to make some picks and rejects. I can switch to film strip and just quickly fly through these and go through and mark the ones that I want, right? And so I have the ability to do my picks and rejects right here, right on the actual film strip, and just go through and make the selects that I want. It's pretty cool, okay? So it gives you all that ability just to pull it together. And related to that tool, we have Memory Maker. And so Memory Maker lets you do a who, where, why, what sort of search. So this time, let's say my daughter and my wife. And I want pictures that they're together, but you know what? I'm going to add myself to that mix. And so it's going to be pictures. But I'm happy if it's going to be, and we can decide 2 out of 3 people. So now it's got to be at least 2 of us in the picture together. But it could be me and my daughter, or me and my wife, or the 3 of us, because I said 2 out of the 3 faces needed to match. I can come down and describe an activity. Or, my family loves going to Disney. So maybe I want to save a place. And so let's just type in Walt Disney World. There we go. And I'll pick it. And I'll say, you know what? Disney's a pretty big place. Let's take a look at about a 10-mile radius. And we'll just call that Walt Disney World. Now I've got a saved location. And look, now I got pictures with us at Walt Disney World that were geotagged. And so I could very quickly do that, and maybe we actually go to Disneyland a lot, right? So I can start typing in the different places and it will update the search, right? So you can do that. Or maybe I'm looking for, a different location. And as I just start to type, it's going to look up the different locations. There we go. And populate it, right? And so you can dial in what you're looking for very quickly and get to it, which is pretty cool. And as you do that, what happens is you can save those locations. So I'll just say Fairfax, where we live. And you start to type and it's going to populate, or you type in a zip code. So all I have to do here is say new save place. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. First time I'm demoing the feature. Let's go back to Disneyland there, right? And so you can do a search and then add it, okay? Now, those places will show up in different places, which is kind of cool. You can look at that. I could say, you know what? Let's add another person into here. We don't want to leave my son out of this. So anytime there's pictures of us, okay? And so you can start to add those combinations. And now we got a few more to pick from. And so now it's pictures of my son or me or my wife, at least 2 of us, visiting Walt Disney World. again, I could review those pictures and I can save them when I'm ready.
Okay, so one of the things that we did with the search bar here is it was often requested that people want to be able to stay in context with a certain filter. So we've moved it up top, and we are now actually staying in context. But you can choose whether you want to switch to collections view or if you just want to search in the current view. As part of the filter browser, we've moved the filter browser from the left to the right. So it expands left to right. So if you go, for example, folder view, sample library, organized by year, 2001, it gives you a little bit of more real estate here where you can see properly how the filters are expanding from left to right rather than it being replaced when it's on the left-hand side. You can search for filters here. So for example, if I look for smart tags of dogs, it will actually expand the entire set of filters here to get you the filter view there. And then, like I said previously, you can just type in at the top. Another thing that we did is just bring the commonly used filters at the top here, so that if you just want to quickly search for 3-star, maybe green, they will come and just stack together. You don't need to really open the entire filter browser because these are the most commonly things that you did.
And you can customize that too with the gear.
Yeah. So you can customize what you want at the top. So for example, if you always want keywords at the top there, I don't really have keywords in that library. Let's say, for example, you want to show your albums here. So now you have a quick search to do albums. The other thing that we always used to be able to do in Mylio is you can just type in the filters that you do that you wanted. So using a colon syntax, but now you can combine it with keyboard itself. So let's say I want to have a 3-star rating as well as a 4-star rating, and then let's look at folder. So I typed in folder and it just gives me a nice drop down there. So the search that you used to do with the keyboard, the term-based search is still there, but it will actually auto-complete it for you. Okay, Rich, I'll switch back to you.
Yep. Cool. So I was finishing up on face search, and I just wanted to say, besides the ability to, go ahead and look at the pictures and mark the ones you want, we have an option to save. And you can create smart albums, which is something a lot of you have asked for. Deon, what could be in a smart album? What's the criteria for a smart album?
So anything that you have as a filter criteria can now be used as a smart album. So just anything that I've showed you right now, including categories, star ratings, text, OCR, whatever you want. If you can use it as a search criteria, you can use it as a smart album. And even the esoteric things, like you can have a collection of pictures and then limit your smart albums to that if you want.
Yeah. And so I can say, hey, I want a smart album called Family Disney. And you know what? Add it to my memories page. That's one of my favorite places. So now if I go back to my collections view, I will have it added. It's going to pop up there under memories, family trips to Disney. I've added a custom memory that was defined by those custom search criteria. And if I go over to my filter browser or my album browser, I've got it here. So all your smart albums appear just like real albums. And if you prefer to keep that a little bit more organized, when you open up your navigation panel, there's a separate tree for smart albums versus normal albums. You've got a manager, just like a bookmark manager, so you can go ahead and keep them in groups and nested. So if you know how to make a web browser bookmark, every time you do a save search, you have the ability to save it as an album. So, if I just start typing, I like using the memory view here. I like my results popping up here. So as I type, it just starts to show matches. And so I found all these things that were matching, but I can also just invoke a search. And by just typing and pressing enter, it's going to generate, and you see that it found a bunch of things. And it also used those to narrow it down. And so now I've got different places and I can use those results. But anything that you've made a search for is going to be able to be recalled, and you'll just find it right there in the search bar under Smart Albums as if it was a bookmark. And so you want to find it, just click, you're there. You want to add some things, hey, 4 and 5 stars, but yellow labels, right? You can click to expand that and start to add to your list. And so you've got the ability there to customize how that's going to actually work and what loads. I can clear that out. And so you have a great ability here to quickly find things and use the search tools that you're used to and kind of quickly dig in. All right. We talked a little bit about map view before. We mentioned that idea of saved locations. You've got navigation here for map view as well, which is great. Let's talk about albums just a little bit more. So you have your album view, and you can go in and do your different searches. You can take a look and see it by tree, but you've got the ability here to sort. One of the things I do like, though, is that we've actually made it a little bit easier to organize things within an album. Now, let me load up here. I think I've got a saved criteria that was getting in the way there. Okay, perfect. So I've loaded up an album of my daughter's Eagle Scout ceremony, and maybe I want to organize this. Well, down here under the bottom bar, you've got controls to customize things. So first up, I could choose to sort by a whole bunch of criteria. Hey, maybe the date I imported the pictures, or maybe the date the pictures were created, or maybe I want to sort manually. And now I can actually just start dragging them into a different order and positioning that, right? So you can customize your layout. Every album has per album sorting, or you can even kick it off with a custom sort and say, hey, I want to sort by date and then rating. So if I go and pivot to another album here, again, remember all these things are clickable. I can say, oh, you know what? Let's just make a quick jump here, and I can switch between albums, right? I can make that jump. And so this just gives me that ability to see things. And then again, I can invoke and say, oh, I want to go ahead and do a custom order. And I would like to sort by rating and then date. And so now it put all of the higher ranked pictures first. So you can go in and do that. See, there's the 5 star and then the 3 star. Now, I want to point out something that's kind of nice. So you've got the ability here on these images to adjust them. Now, I've got it set pretty faintly so that when I mouse over things, I could actually see it. But like, let's say I got a junky picture. Oh, I don't have to go somewhere else. I could just mark it as a reject right there, and it's going to hide it in the grid. Maybe I see a great picture while I'm browsing and I want to mark that. I can mark it as a pick. Or I can click and assign a star rating or color label. So you don't have to switch to another view to do things that are rating your pictures, right? It's all right there. Also, notice up here drop zones. So when you're in all photos or library view and you want to move something around, you could put it into a folder. Or if maybe you just want to work and see just your albums, right? I could say I just want to have albums here. I could start dragging and dropping things into albums. And I have everything here. So I can say, oh, you know what? Let's drop that into the graduation album. Boom, it's there. I didn't have to switch views. So drop zones gives you the ability when you're in library view to drop things into folders or albums. And you can just go in and choose to see one or the other. And how does that sort? Is it by date created? Is it by name? Or down here, ascending or descending. So, and if you just needed to find it, because like it's a long list, you just start typing and look, boom. Hey, there we go. Cool. Grad portraits, drop it in right there. Boom. I added it. So those are some of the speed things we've added to just make it easy to find things. And then you got a simple confirmation. And Deon, we have undos on things now, right? Like lots of things had undos, but people didn't know that they could undo. So if you change your mind, you could just reverse it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does that work on? What can you undo?
You should be able to undo everything The navigation stack is kept separately, so you go back and forward. It's not an undo action, but otherwise you should be able to actually undo everything inside the application, including deletes.
Cool. So you get notifications when you do moves and things like that, so you can easily undo them right from the pop-up message. And we're fine-tuning the number of little messages that appear, but we're trying to do some nice subtle ones at the bottom of the screen. They're called toast, and you can kind of navigate your way around and find it there. So I hope that that's something you guys enjoy as just a nice way. So the N key for navigate will open up the navigation, or in this case, the drop zones, which aren't really navigation in library view, but everywhere else you'll find navigation, the calendar and map, people, trees, etc. So in the calendar, you can navigate by year or by events. So if you like to use events, you've got navigation that way. So it's just really simple. And remember, it's easy when you look at your events, you can actually see all your different events and navigate between them, right? Or a timeline. Now, I'm in the middle of building this new library back up, so I haven't built them yet. But when you go to add an event, it's quite simple. You just describe it, you can assign categories, and we've changed how events can be scoped, Deon. So this was a popular one based on a lot of customers. Can you explain, if you want to manually create an event, how flexible this is now? So that it's not just necessarily by date?
Yeah, so previously our events could only be dates and folders, but now they can also be albums and smart albums. So with the result is the smart album actually becomes interesting, because if you now, for example, have a event that's based on your geographic location around a specific point, and you want to have that show up at the calendar as an event Gantt, you can now do that, or based on the filter criteria in there, and only have, for example, your 4 and 5-star pictures be part of the event. So it'll figure out which pictures are inside that the smart album, what is the range of that, and then draw that as the Gantt inside the calendar.
Yeah. So I can add that one there from my daughter's Eagle Scout Selects, and I could just name it because I had already done the organization. There we go. And I'll say, okay, that's the source. It is, that's the album that it's coming from. And this is a family event, so I'm going to tag it family. I could decide to include any sub-albums if there were. And I can even manually override the dates if I needed to, but now it's going to add that and the events will pop up. Now, if you don't see the events, you can just turn them on. There they are. See? So I did have events. I just turned them off. And that's the thing. All of our different views have annotations that you can control. So if you want to see them, you can turn them on. If you don't, you can turn it off. But I manually added that event and now it appears up here. And if it's a multi-day event, you'll see it span or over different months. So you've got great control over how those things draw, which is pretty cool. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the view controls here for a second. Let's go to something big like the whole library for a minute. In my case, that's about 500,000 photos. And maybe I want it a little bit easier to navigate. I'm trying to understand what's up here really quick. Well, maybe it's because you've already done some things, like you've narrowed it down to your best pictures. You had 5 stars and 4 stars, and you were happy and you had assigned a date range, right? Maybe I just wanted just photos. And then I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to add under my filter browser here a date. And so I can go in and just start to search, and maybe I don't know exactly the year, but we always take family trips and we do them in December. And so I could just say, you know what? I'm looking for pictures from the month of December and I don't want to add a year. So now it's going to go ahead and show me 4 and 5-star photos from December. And I could add categories or keywords. Well, here's what's really cool. Besides doing all of that, and you can do this wherever you are, right? You can filter, you can carry those filter results through. You've now got the ability to categorize. So I could say, oh, you know what? Group by date. And now it put all the pictures together by date. And so you can see I've got the different dates down there. Now in this case, why is that not combining? That's okay. We'll figure that part out later. But you've got categorization options, or if you don't want to do by date, you can do by rating. And again, you'll see that everything redraws quickly. And now all my 5 stars are together. And if I close that group up, there's all my 4 stars. And so you can go through and very quickly see things from the different areas. There is quite a bit of speed improvements everywhere, isn't there, Deon?
Yeah, we significantly worked on trying to have the library be usable for up to 10 million pictures. So the previous version of Mylio, we've actively tested it up to 1 million pictures. This one, we are actively testing up to 10 million pictures to still make it usable. Now, obviously, it depends on your hardware, but on decent new Macs, you can get 10 million pictures easily.
Yeah. Well, it takes a long time to take 10 million pictures, but
Yeah.
but you can load them easily. And speaking of pictures, some of you might like to organize using folders. So we have given folder view a lot of love. And so here I'm in browsing my folders. And not only can you see what's in folders and tag things like before, but what's really cool is as you go in, you can quickly explore. And you can have loose pictures and not loose pictures grouped together. You can navigate, you can see things, right? So I can have photos and folders mixed together on the stage at the same time, which is pretty cool. You can flatten with just a switch and see everything within there. So now I'm looking at all of that. And so this is all my pictures I've posted to Instagram. Now, a lot of them are upside down. Thank you, Instagram. And you're stripping of metadata. So that's an easy thing. But look, I could just select them all and go ahead and apply a batch rotate, right? Or you can use that with your edit command or crop. You can go ahead and there we go, rotate and rotate once more, right? So like I can go in and quickly make those changes, or I can go and say, you know what? I want to go ahead and group here and switch to by date. And now they're all grouped into the different times that they've been posted. Or maybe I want to group by the rating, right? So you can go through and organize. Or let's say you're working and you are taking a look at something and you're trying to find it, and I'm going to go into my Android photos. Now, these are the pictures from my phone. And give it a second to load here.
No, I don't think that's it. Your group by is broken. I think you may have to load in.
Okay.
Yeah, take group by off. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Thank you. So this is why it's called a public preview, which means we haven't hit the ship button yet. But I like that I can customize this. So you can decide what shows on the grid. So if you want to see things like the file type, you can choose kind. Or maybe you like to see the file name or the title, right? Or the caption. You could choose what's going to show on your pictures. You want the date, you could attach the date. So all of that is customizable. If you want this to be a darker overlay, like you don't like the transparent features, you can go into your settings and just adjust that. Because again, everything is controllable. So you have all those options there that you can control. So if I want it less faded, I could adjust the opacity there. And now those pills are darker. By the way, see a picture you like, and maybe you want to check, is that a sharp photo? I just press the space bar and it pops up instantly, and I could pop it again closed. So the space bar lets you preview any picture that you've selected in almost any view. So it makes it simple, right? And so I can quickly go through and see some of those pictures that I've shared. And you've got all the different labels in different types of views. We have a new Lightroom connector we'll talk about later, but not today, that lets you connect your Lightroom library. And maybe you like to organize like a regular folder. I could switch to list view, and I could also customize what's there. So if I want a lot of columns or I want to customize that, again, you can decide. So you can create your own custom list presets, choose which columns are visible, decide on the order of those. Maybe you want us put the rating column first, or maybe you want to see different areas. You can go through and customize that and give it a list. And now that's available. And want to sort, just click on a column and it sorts by that column. Want to sort by dimensions, etc. So everything here, you can go ahead and reorganize it just like you would expect, sort by name. You can drag things to put them in new order and move the columns around, right? So you have all that ability there to interact with the content. And so I could drop the size column right there. And so you can customize the view. So we've put a lot of effort into completely modernizing it. And so you'll find list view in most places. You can have a squared view. And not only does this let you see the information about the pictures, but if you do apply things like colors and labels, it's really easy to see those stand out in this type of view. Angela, what's your favorite view? Grid style, I should say.
I like the square and I like the card because you can see more information about your pictures and, you can take action on things very easily and see what needs attention.
Yeah. And you can customize the cards. If you want to
Yes.
see the ratings, the file type, right? And again, you can interact right there if you see something that you want to rate. So it's really cool. And you can go in and choose what are the details that appear on the card. So if you want lots of information or just the essentials, you can customize that and just go under and choose what are the details that appear on the card. And there's 4 different layouts. So you can adjust the size of those and you get different types of views depending upon how you configure it. And so it's just a fun way to really go in and be able to organize those things and change the way that you get your views and how it's going to draw the folders. I'm sorry, how it's going to draw the cards. So just a great little customization thing there. And I'm really happy with all the little small touches of how easy it is to find things. Now, we're going to look in some other areas here and talk about some of the other tools, but I want to make sure we've got about a half hour left. Is that right?
Yes, we've
Okay.
got about a half hour, but we want to
Okay.
make sure we have time for questions because there's a bunch.
That's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to point out that, again, all these things you're seeing here are able to be customized. So you could choose the style, you can choose how they group, you can choose how things are sorted. So it's just really fast and simple for you to customize your experience of browsing photos and looking at things. Now, we've talked about albums, smart albums, even the little things like a right click. Having a hard time finding something, you could search right in the right click menu. So one of the things we've heard repeatedly is that people would like it easier to find things. So we've got great tools for that. And let's say you've tagged photos or you've got edits on pictures. Not only can you do things like copy and paste, but you have a choice. So you can copy and paste metadata between pictures like GPS data or keywords between things. Speaking of keywords, we haven't even opened up the right panel yet. So we've really done some nice expansion here on the right panel. I'll make it big so it's easy to see. So you've got your normal info panel like before, but again, you can customize things. You want IPTC metadata, you can put it there. You want it near the top, you can move it up. But if you like metadata, well, how about keywords? How about a keyword manager, right? And so you can actually open this. You can make new hierarchical keywords. Yes, hierarchical keywords with the ability to actually have synonyms. So if I tag something as Labrador, it's going to also tag it lab. So when you make a new keyword, you have the ability to assign the keyword, add synonyms, which are related keywords. You can go ahead and have them applied on import, on export. You can decide if they only stay in your library. And you've got the full ability to import and export keywords. So you can export your list and modify it, and then you can import it. So keywords are not the same thing as family members. Someone was asking about family member import and export later. Contacts and face tags are different than keywords, but this is something that has been asked for a long, long time, and that is hierarchical keywords and a floating keyword HUD that I could actually move and put in different places where I want as I'm working. And so that's really quite cool. And you still have smart tags, so you can tag things with your pictures if they got tags. But you also have a full metadata panel. And so with an individual picture open, because this is for an individual photo, not grid view, you can decide that you want to add information to a picture, right? So I can go in and take a look at that, and I see, let's just open that up there. Yep. I can go in, and that's a little bug with the rotation. Let's do this. Perfect. I can add all the keywords, all the metadata, right? So you have all the different categories that you're used to, and all of these are now editable. And we even support things like tagging things as not being useful or allowed for AI indexing or to add information about your AI files. You've got the ability here to do all sorts of different types of organization, custom metadata, and additional metadata panels that you could turn on. So lots of stuff. And full control over how the AI is done, so you can see if something's been analyzed yet. Smart tags, scene analysis, face detection, OCR, but you can opt in or out on all of those and decide. And again, it all runs on your device. Nothing ever leaves your device for processing. The ability to control the storage and see what's going on with the file. But we've really done some nice expansions there, including, like I said, full keywords and full metadata management, which is something people have asked for a long time. You'll also find that we've done some nice improvements to the editing tab. So when you go in, we actually have a full screen editing view now. And this includes the ability to adjust, and we'll have styles, a nice great crop tool. And for those of you who are used to different types of crops, I don't know why that's doing that. That's okay. We have different composition overlays. So you can actually change for different types. So if you're used to the golden spiral, or you like to use a golden aspect ratio, or you like, rule of thirds or a grid, you've got all those choices now as you crop so that you can see and interact with the content, which is really quite cool to have that flexibility. And you can even adjust the opacity of the overlays and whether they show. Maybe you don't want those there most of the time. I could just set it to auto. And then only when I drag do they appear to help me with my crop and composition. So we've put a lot of nice improvements into the editing tools to kind of help you out there. I think you'll find that enjoyable. And I know I'm forgetting a ton of stuff, but questions are going to help fill it all in. But you have control over adding media. And so when you go to add your media, you can actually now copy in individual files. You don't have to bring an entire folder in at once. So as you're browsing and looking at content, you could see and choose, I just want an individual file, and import that in one single file. Or browse to multiple locations and mark what you're looking to browse and bring in. And so you can choose those individual files for import or see folders within there as well, and then mark what you're looking for. Right? And so you can step in there and very quickly see all the different content, mark an entire folder for import. And then you can quickly review and see exactly what's going to happen. Where is it going to write the files? Is it going to add any information to it? And that's the simple view. I'm going to go to the other end, which is the advanced view for those of you who are control people. And now you do all sorts of things. You can choose recipes. You can save presets. You can choose which file types are included and excluded. You can choose the destination. You can actually apply organization on the way in, and you can decide what that looks like. So how do you want to sort? Year, month, date, multiple criteria, date, time, sequence number. You can create an entire folder structure when you import. You can assign categories on import. We'll talk about stacking later. You can go ahead and have it flag issues, like mark ones that have exposure issues for you. And you could even apply metadata on the way in, including full metadata presets if you need to. So you can choose what metadata gets added and have that applied on import when you bring it in. You can even assign locations on import. So you have a really robust tool. So if you're advanced, you've got an advanced importer. If you just want to keep it as easy as possible, you've got the simple importer. And that's something that we're doing in lots of things, and that is to make it easier so you can see stuff. right? So I can navigate and browse and quickly see what's there and get in there and start to bring things in. So I think you guys will like that improvement overall. And there's lots more to it, but I think, Deon, I'd like to let you, do you have any more search tools you wanted to demonstrate or any more AI features that you wanted to show
Yeah,
before we get to
yeah, I
questions?
can do that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and stop sharing. Go ahead.
Everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the other features that we've added is, I'll come back to that in a second, is the ability to do document processing during imports, so that if you have this PDF file, for example, this is a 117-page PDF. However, during import, it actually did a summary for me on the PDF itself. So it tells me what the key findings are, what the summary is of the document, who are featured in it from a people perspective, what dates are mentioned inside the article, what are the topics, what are the notable excerpts, etc. So obviously this is usable from a search perspective when you go and try and find it if you're looking for documents. And it's also useful to see if you actually want to spend the time to actually read over it. It's kind of like that UI, that AI overview that you have in YouTube before you want to watch a video. I find that actually very useful, and I can decide based on that if I want to watch the video or not. So this is kind of similar to what we have for documents. Okay, so the other new feature that we have is we have a new chat window inside the application. And what this does is it actually, we've taught it to understand everything inside the Mylio context, including things that we haven't thought about to provide UI features for. So for example, over here, I can tell it, show me my pictures that are 6,000 pixels wide. And there's no UI features for that. There's no ability to go and say filter for 6,000, but this understands the underlying data structures of the product. So what it goes and it does a database query, and it should come back with a result where it actually filters the pictures by that. And now I have just 6,000 pixels, 6,000 pixel wide images on the screen. So I can follow up with that. They say that are 3-star rated. So this is also a useful thing to do, for example, on a phone. If you just have a dictation button on your phone and you want to just talk to it and find a picture that way, you can actually do that. Other thing that you can do is obviously just your standard visual similarity search that I've done in the previous place that says, show me pictures of a white dog in the snow. Oh, I still have that filter on.
Yeah, and these are all just natural language searches you just described. Now, all of this, it'll take a little while to index all your photos, but it just runs in the background. You'll just leave Mylio running. Oh, good. We're getting a nice happy people. So yeah, you just let Mylio run in the background and it will scan through your hard drive and start to index them. And this is all natural language search. So
Yep.
white dogs and then snow, and you can go ahead and again it's just a pivot point. Remember, once you find one picture, you could see pictures from the same date, or you can see related photos, you could see other things, and it's just very quick to pivot between them.
Right. Okay, Rich, I'll hand this back to you.
Sure. I'm going to show one more thing, two more things, and then we'll open up to questions here. So yep, desktop. Okay. So my stuff's still being scanned, so I'm not going to actually show it, but we have split out the difference between visual duplicates, exact duplicates, burst, and repetition and clutter. So these are scanning right now, just because I just brought the library in, but it'll actually be able to find visually similar photos that are of different resolutions. You, of course, have your same dedupe as before, but we've actually improved the layout a bit. So if you want to do comparisons, besides seeing them like this view, you can go ahead and look at them one by one. And so it becomes really easy to quickly go through and review. And look, I can use my left and right arrow to see the ones and up and down arrow to step through the list. So just really simple. Spacebar will mark the one that I want to get rid of or keep. You can actually put them side by side and do a comparison. Or if you want, you can overlay them on top of each other and drag through to compare them split screen style. That's really useful when you want to look at different pictures that are almost the same. Or you can see them and just look at them as different views. So we've really improved the ability in here to do your different types of culling, and that's going to be available for all the different types. So you'll see exact duplicates, burst and sequences. So I can quickly scroll through this and see instances where, oh, I was taking a bunch of pictures here and I want to see things when I was just shooting. So this was my, daughter's graduation, and I was just laying on the shutter to make sure that we got it. But maybe I'm down here a little bit, and I can go in and just adjust that threshold, and I could tweak it and say, you know what, they have to be from the same aspect ratio and the same camera, but I want them within 4 seconds of each other, and it will update and refilter. So it just makes it easy to find those things. And so you'll see that. And we've got other types of cleanup, right? Bursts and sequences, repetition, same photo, any different time, or clutter. And so I can go in and see things like screen recordings or, stuff I want to get rid of, pictures where the eyes were marked closed, 249 pictures where the faces are blurry, right? And so it's found blurry faces, and I can decide if I want to keep those or not. So you actually have that, and it makes it simple. So we've got lots of culling tools. And eventually, it's not quite ready yet, but under our beta tool here, you'll see that we have a culling tool, and that tool will make it easy to then start to use different criteria, like do a search or be more specific. And so there's recipes to help you out here, and you can go through and sort of pick, hey, I'm looking in the entire library, and this is what I want to find, right? So you can go in and you can decide what you're looking at and narrow it down, and then start to decide what you want to see, right? Are you looking for particular people? Are you looking for a simple recipe, right? So you can go through, and it's pretty cool. You can describe what you're looking for. And there's even other things there like faces or sharpness. And we mentioned earlier, one of the things I love about the filter bar here is just the simple little search by type. And so I can go in and very quickly, search for a particular file type. And then let's say I have a video clip, but I want to tweak it a little bit. So we've added that ability now that you could do that. So now when you open up a video, you've got the ability to actually adjust things like the in and out point. So you can mark it for trims. You can go ahead and choose what your poster frame is, which is the frame that shows on the grid, and then save it non-destructively so you can update your clips. Eventually, it's not quite done yet, but you can actually put multiple videos together. And so you can browse and find your videos and put multiple clips together and adjust the in and the out point and export a new video. So you'll have some nice basic editing tools there for just putting together multiple things like that. So it's just a fun way to really work with all your stuff. And like I said, everything's customizable. You want a bigger or a smaller timeline? You got it. You can go in and navigate. You want to customize the order of the albums? You got it, right? Let's say you want to, go through and really explore things. We didn't finish quite the stuff on the bottom here, but I'll just leave you with this and I'll let Angela show it to you more in the future. So let's say you want to go ahead and turn this into a slideshow. Well, with just the click of a button, I've got a slideshow feature, and I can go in and adjust the ins and out points. I could add my own watermark. I could choose the type of transition that I want, right? Now, don't worry about this. We're doing a little thing with the previews of what's there, but I can go ahead and I can make it loop. I could tell it to shuffle the photos automatically. I can add my logo or my name. And when I click play, it's going to actually go ahead and run that, and it will build out the slideshow, and I'll be able to watch my slideshow if I wasn't in beta software. Or I can export my slideshow as a video file. So you can go through and you can adjust, but look at all the different transitions. Look at all the options you have now. that you didn't have before. And we've added, I know this one will be popular, Deon Brewis. So you can go through and you can adjust things like the in and out point. So you can go through and you can adjust, but look at all the different transitions. Look at all the options you have now that you didn't have before. And we've added, I know this one will be popular, secondary viewer. Now, I'm going to show you this on my main viewer because I'm in Zoom, but this gives you the ability to choose what you're viewing. And so you can have a secondary viewer, you can narrow it to your current focus, and it's going to open that up if you want, right? Or demo that launch time again. So if I'm here and I open up my secondary viewer, it's going to give me the ability to see, and I can decide how it is. So maybe I just want to look at these pictures because I'm trying to decide which one's the best. Well, I open that in my secondary viewer, which Zoom is not liking, but I could open that in compare mode. Okay. And so now that's going to give me the ability to compare the pictures. That's interesting. What is that doing? Oh, well. You've got different view types and you can go through and see them. You can review it. You can decide how you're viewing it. You can see the pictures side by side. You can go ahead and put one on each side and set a comparison picture and then start to step through them. And so this just lets you mark it, right? And so you can go ahead there and decide which one is the one. I'll make that my select. And then now I can step through and look at other pictures related to it. Now, I don't know why I lost my place in the grid. It'd be easier to show it if it didn't, but there you go. And so you can have your secondary view there. And let's see if I get both of them open same by time at Mylio here. There we go. It's a Zoom thing here. It's not letting me have both. So here we go. So pretend I had two monitors on my device. Now what's cool is I can go through and compare the two pictures side by side, right? So I can have them and just step on through. And so it just makes it nice that you can see both. If you want to zoom in, you can do that. And they stay linked by default. So I could just go through as I'm stepping and looking at that and see the different options there as I'm making a pick, right? And so this just gives you that ability to do those great comparisons. And on your second display, you can review. So it's pretty cool. And so you've got that ability. You can also do survey mode, right? And so survey mode, if you go in with a bunch of pictures like that, you can start to look at all of them, right? And you can adjust if it zooms or not zoomed, and then just decide which ones you want or don't want, and kind of work your way down to the best picture. So lots of great options here, and this can be run on a second monitor or on a floating window, but you have great controls. And so I think you're going to see that. You want to keep the dashboard open, you can pop it out and, go ahead and switch over to your devices and see your devices and, keep that on a different window and watch it. So you want to go in and look at your library stats, you can do that. And so you have multi-monitor, multi-window Mylio. So I think with that, it's a good time to open up for questions, but we've put in a whole lot of the things that you've all been asking for. And Deon, do you want to show one more platform thing? I think you wanted to show it running in a different type of environment, or not today?
Yeah, no, I'll say that.
Okay, and we'll queue the questions up, but this is something I know that's also been asked for.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
This is Mylio running inside a web browser, connecting to a true NAS backend. So this is actually Mylio running on a NAS with a web browser interface for that. And you can do everything that you can do in the individual app. You can do directly on site on the NAS, and you can sync Mylio directly on the NAS. You no longer need to have an application running to sync to your NAS. It actually just runs the software directly on the NAS.
Yep. It doesn't need another computer connected on all the time. The NAS is the device.
And one last thing. This is Kubuntu. It's a version of Linux. And we now have Mylio for Linux as well. Now, a lot of you guys have Windows 10 machines that cannot be upgraded to Windows 11. However, those machines can all be upgraded to Kubuntu. So if you want to have a machine that's dedicated to just running Mylio on there, we will help you to set Kubuntu up on there. It will be a fully supported machine, and you have some extra life that you can get into your old Windows 10 machines. Okay.
All right. I think it's time for questions. And to be clear, this is only about half the things and stuff. Actually, maybe even only a third. we showed you the big stuff, the major stuff, but there's all sorts of little improvements. And I am looking forward to going into the forum to where there's hundreds of feature requests and going, now shipping, click, now shipping, click. We have done our homework. And for those of you who've been longtime Milo customers, without talking about how the sausage is made, we did a huge infrastructure improvement on the platform, a big modernization. And this is allowing us to do lots of graphic and visual interface improvements because we've switched to a very modern architecture platform, which means that we can go in and add a lot of these customizations and things you've been asking for. It's not that we didn't want to do them before, it's that it was a very time consuming process. Now we can have designers working on user interface while developers who are working on things like sync and performance can do that. So it's very exciting. So like the slideshow thing I showed you that was partially broken that needs to be looked at by a developer, I was able to build out the user interface and the transitions and the experience so that it can come to you. So I'm just very excited that we're going to keep expanding this. So I'll share my screen so we can answer questions, but Angela or whoever's going to host, start taking us through the questions and we'll answer the ones we can.
All right, so there's a lot of questions on when we can get our hands on this. How do you sign up to be a beta tester? So
Yep.
the first one is from Nove. How do you sign up for being a beta tester of this update?
Sure. So we're not going to have beta testing initially. So the first thing is a preview. And our intention is to let all customers play with the preview who want to, and other people who've been Mylio users. So the preview edition of Mylio will be able to be launched as a standalone application. It doesn't have the syncing or those things in it, and it's not meant to sync between devices, but it can read your current Mylio library and it will open it up. And Deon, it can be run on top of the current Mylio library, right? So people can play with it and look at their pictures, or they could use a sample library or just bring in a few folders. But it's meant to be able to run side by side. Can you describe a little bit more about the limitations of preview and what that can be done?
Yeah, that's correct. So what we're trying to do is, since we know this is beta software, we're trying our best not to interfere with Mylio. We will not write back to the Mylio catalog. We will not take a delete and then propagate it to Mylio. We will not overwrite an XMP inside Mylio. So everything that you do inside Mylio will just stay aside. But when you install it, it will ask you if you want to do a one-time migration, and it will just give you a second copy of the catalog itself while pointing to the previews and thumbnails of Mylio itself. We don't expect to have a build over build upgrade for this one. So the next time we release a preview after this one, it'll migrate again. And then when we finally release it, it'll migrate again. But yeah, it is so that you can definitely run it side by side, including on a phone, including you can have Mylio on the phone and then the preview, which won't be in this release, but the next preview release will have it on the phone, and you can run the two next to each other.
Yep. And so we don't publicly commit on timelines, but I can tell you our general goals. The reason why we're releasing the preview version is we are going to have lots of listening events, and Angela has regular events scheduled already. She'll be showing new features, but there'll be a chance to get feedback. We'll be sending out surveys and we'll having some different opportunities to talk through things. And we want to start getting feedback. So we'll be letting this version out the door relatively soon. Again, I'm not going to commit to a firm date, but we've been working hard. You saw a few bugs when I opened it in front of you, but you, for the most part, saw a highly functional app that we've spent a long time working on. And we want you to start to play with it and give us feedback. While you're doing that, we're going to be working on finishing out the family features and the team features and the individual features and the syncing and all of those things that are also a part of the Mylio experience. But that's how you connect your devices together. So we'll be letting you experiment with this. And then once that's all solid, then once we start getting ready for the other features like NAS and other things, we'll start some beta testing programs. But everyone will be able to play with the public preview version of Mylio. And that's so that you can both get used to it and give us feedback. And you have some time to really experiment with the tools and fall in love with them and give us feedback on what you like or don't like. And so there's a lot of things in here that like are still getting tweaked. Like, we're still going to fine tune some of the settings here under theme, or, like you might have noticed that some of my text was cut off. It's because we haven't yet gone through and adjusted for the font size changing in all places. But, you can go through and make those sort of tweaks. and we'll figure that part out. We're going through and we're getting some of the things set up so that, like, you want to go ahead and connect. You can go ahead and choose your watched folders, and we're working through what's that experience like. But for example, I can connect a Lightroom catalog and it will add it, and it will actually keep the metadata in sync two ways. So if I rate in Lightroom or I rate here, it'll pass that on. So, we're working through some of these little things that are take time, but don't keep you from being able to play with the product and give us feedback. So that's what's going to come next, is the ability to dig in, and we'll send out an update next week about when we think that's going to go out the door. So we'll let you know soon. We're working hard to get it ready, but we'll post an update next week on what to expect. And we also have a bunch of articles and things we're going to be sharing, so you guys can dig into that.
All right, next question is from Ted. He's running Mac OS 13 Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
He would have to buy a new computer if he wants to upgrade. Will this be a problem? Is he going to have to upgrade his computer to run the next version of Mylio?
And actually, along that, we have a few questions like that one. So, Deon, maybe you can talk a little bit about hardware minimum requires expectations.
Yeah, so we're not currently testing on Ventura. However, I don't see it being a problem for it to run on Ventura. We will probably need to disable some features. But like Mylio is fundamentally meant to run on multiple machines. So if you have one powerful machine, you can dedicate that machine to do all of your background operations and then just use the other machines to access it. But always in the worst case, if you have really an underpowered machine, you can use a browser on that machine and point it to any other Mylio instance. Like I showed it running on the NAS. That's actually not just on the NAS. You can actually point it at any other Mylio running instance, and you'll get a user interface on your other machine.
Yep. So we have not set final requirements, but yes, you would benefit from having one good computer. But you don't have to have all the computers be fast and good. But that's up to you. And we will lock down hardware requirements soon, but it is designed to run in a web browser. So, you can use your older devices and just access it from a web browser if you have an NAS.
If there is interest to that, so we are thinking about having the ability to have a hosted NAS. So if you just want to host a NAS with Mylio itself, you have full control over the NAS and it works like a vault for you. If you want to run it in our cloud environment, we'll give you the ability to do that as well. We'll run it in a secure enclave, and then you'll just have a monthly fee for that. If you do not want to upgrade machines, especially at this time when everything is so expensive.
Yep.
But that's definitely not a requirement. It's just an offering that we'll have as well, like we currently have secure storage as well.
Yep. So hopefully that makes sense, guys, and let's keep the questions coming.
All right, so from Nove, if I'm looking at related images, can I train the application like I do with face tagging?
Yeah, so as you know, Mylio used to have a smart tag feature. We still have a smart tag feature. What the smart tag feature is actually now is it's just pre-trained versions of the searches that I've shown you. Like, for example, when I said boy with Buena Beach, that is what a smart tag is nowadays. And you'll be able to add more of those smart tags. So you just have your description in there and you use that as a smart tag. And if you can't quite figure out the description because it's like a combination of things, you can take a set of pictures that you like and say, give me other images like this as a related image, and then save that as a smart tag, and you'll just be able to bring that up with under your smart tags.
Yeah. So you build it by picking things that are similar and then save a tag.
Awesome. All right, from Ted, is there any addition to scrolling by click and drag, i.e. keystrokes or similar to rapidly scroll?
I have no idea. So we have lots of customizable keys. You can always scroll, but we've not talked about customizing the speed of that. But obviously, we have very fast dragging. So we can talk about that later. That's a new one for me. I don't know, Deon, if you have anything you want to say there.
I was actually just going to add that for me as a pet feature. I didn't think anybody else cared about that. So yeah, we'll have that.
Apparently, yes. Maybe you too are a developer.
Next question's from Philip. Will customization be by device or by user or by account? So, like if you're moving around menus and things like that, is that going to are those customizations going to show up on every device that you have on your account, or is that
So
per
menus are
device?
different between Mac OS and Windows and iOS. It's not the same menu system. So some things are tied to your account, like, certain settings. Some things are tied to devices. We've not locked down which ones are device and which ones are global. So that's something we can look at, but we do also have the ability to import and export. So some things will be tied to your account and some things will be tied to your device. And sometimes that's because different devices are also different on what they support. But we have not locked down which ones are device and which ones are global yet.
All right. Let's see here. Next question. We've already covered that. I think we've covered this as well. Will there be improved handling of NAS? My NAS does not support Docker, so I have to rely on a Windows PC to sync my NAS. I think we've covered
Yep, we
that.
covered that. There'll be a dedicated NAS application that you can install without a computer.
Let's see here from Ron. My biggest limitation now is that Mylio and Samsung cannot work with my new 1 TB SD card that I added last week. I was told that this new version will fix this limitation. Is that true?
No idea.
Uh,
Go
yeah, we'll
ahead.
have
Do you
to
know,
see
Dan?
why that limitation exists, but I cannot imagine that it wouldn't work in this release.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question here from Jeanette. Are we still forced into using timestamps? And I think what she means by that is when you export, if you export a fuzzy date, you lose the fuzzy date in the export and it reverts to the timestamp. Are we doing
Sure.
anything to fix that?
So let me address that one quickly. There is no such thing as a fuzzy date outside of Mylio because computers insist on having dates. However, we will have a set of rules that say if you assign something to the 1980s, then it will assign the date January 1st, 1980 when you assign it. But we can't change what the IPTC standards are, but we will have a set of conversions on what gets written to the file. And so you can have that, and you have better control over your keywords and what gets added and exported as well. So you have some extra flexibility there on how that works. And that's tied, what you guys are asking about is, as I'm working with dates, what's that look like? And so maybe you're not sure exactly when something is. So you might end up assigning, a range of dates to something. So, you can do that and assign a start date and an end date. And, that's fine. Or, like that. And, hey, I knew it was over these 3 days. But we have other options and things like that. And so maybe you've assigned a decade or a year, but we will have some conversion rules on how those get converted when you export. But there are limitations on what metadata will support when you export. Okay.
All right, kind of tangential to that is, well, are there any updates made to the date range or manual date changing features of Mylio? I think you were kind of just showing that with the
Yeah.
different picker that's on the screen, but as far as the options for the different date ranges, those are pretty much the same. How you pick them is varied a little bit now.
Yeah, I don't know what else we could add, so you'll have to be more specific. I mean, you can add by day, month, season, year, or decade. I don't think we have photographs longer than, I mean, we don't have centennials for pictures. Well, technically we are on 200 years of photography, but most of you probably don't have that. But, there is a little bit more control here of like shifting date or time and seeing a preview. So if I say, oh, I need to shift that, I could see what that looks like. So I think it's a lot easier to do time shifting and date temp shifting and traveling with vacation. So I'm really happy with this shift interface. I think it's a lot clearer so you can see what's going on, but we already have all the things and stuff. If there's one that you don't see on the screen, let us know. But, we also have extensive controls for filtering to find things by date and time already. And for those of you who use custom filters a lot, I want to point out that we now have a custom filter editor. So you can actually modify your custom filters, including the names and the criteria of how you built it, so that you could do those more advanced searches for things and build it and then have a full custom filter modify tool for tracking your custom filters and what's in them, etc. So you got full control over your custom filters.
Cool. Next question is from Harold. When you're looking at the view with the film strip below, so single image view with the film strip, is it possible to select images from the film strip at this point, or is it only from the grid view?
What do you mean by select?
So if you have the film strip open and let's say you have three images below that you can see in the film strip, can you select all three of them and then drag them into an album if you have the navigation open?
Just drag them into the quick album, and then you could send this right from here to any of those places that you want. So you just drop them down there, and then you could send to an album or anything else you can, select. So, you can go ahead there, and if I've got a selection down here, I could choose which ones I want, and then I could add to an album, or I can move them, or I can invoke an export, or anything else. As you're browsing and you come across pictures you like, if you don't want to have to drag them down there, you can just add it. And so we do have the concept of keyboard shortcuts. So you can make add to quick album be a customizable keyboard shortcut and just keep tapping things as you see it that you like, and then go to the quick album and export it or do whatever you want. So this is that temporary area of staging things and organizing them. But this is navigation. So you can't multi-select up here because there's only one picture in this view.
Got it. All right, from Oliver.
But that's what this is for down here. Okay, that's your quick album that you can build up very quickly as you work.
Perfect. Is there a possibility to add geotags automatically to pictures without geotags, e.g. through AI for famous places, folder or picture names?
So the AI models that we ship that is able to run in your local machines are not powerful enough to do that. However, we do have the ability for you to add any AI model in there. So if you actually want to use something like Claude or ChatGPT, you can add it as an AI agent. And we will give it the Mylio system prompt. So you can ask it, take these pictures and figure out the geotag for it. It'll know how to go and tag the images for that. So yeah, you would have the ability to, if you want to do off-device AI, the models that we ship with the machine is not powerful enough. We did try around to see if there's powerful enough models, but you'll effectively need $20,000 or $30,000 worth of hardware to run anything capable of doing that. But you can add your own AI engine there, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you can connect one, but we have better OCR, and we have lots of other things that you can search for and criteria. And you can, of course, when you're importing the pictures, add locations on the way in. So instead of having to be so specific about pictures, right? So like, instead of worrying about tagging everything, let's say I'll make this a little bit bigger here. I'll just expand that, right? And so I'm going to type in, the capital at Washington, D.C., right? So I can start typing, and it's going to find out different places, or I can drag on the map, right? United States Capitol. Well, I've taken that there. It takes me in on the map. I can see that where I'm at, right? And so you can decide, instead of it being a pinpoint on here, right? I can decide that I want to save a custom location. So this lets me name it. And so I can say, okay, I want to go ahead here and, name this place, or let me just select a picture. There we go. And so I'm just going to type in an initial address here, right? Capital, Washington, right? And so it's going to match, if I spell correctly. There you go. And so United States Capitol, perfect, right? And so there I click, it's going to, geotag that picture. Well, now what I can do is I can actually save that as a place. So you can go in and, load it or whatever you want. You could save the coordinates. I could assign a radius, let's say 0.5 mile. And I can name it. Okay. And so now that becomes available. And so later on, when you're using your keywords, or sorry, your filters, and you want to filter by a location, you'll actually see that there is a group where you have your custom locations. So there's my Walt Disney World pictures from earlier. And instead of it being one specific place, and I have all these different places all over Walt Disney, I assigned a geographic radius to Walt Disney. And so it picked up multiple parks. Or there's the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and I decided, I put a radius around it so that I could see all the pictures that I've taken there, as opposed to just a single location. So I think it's a lot easier for you to assign that. And then again, on your way in of importing pictures, you can add that information when you import, right? So you'll see over here, you have the ability of adding information. And so you could just go ahead and add some of the things like a location on the way in when you're doing your importing. Okay. So you can go ahead and stack that in there or tag it afterwards. But I'm
All
really
right.
happy that we have custom locations now. So you can save them with the information about where you were and just get right to them.
Yeah, that's very cool. Next question is from Nova, and I think we touched on this. He says, "Is it possible to link Mylio to my generative AI account where Mylio would send a photo to Google Gemini and then return the information such as the identification of an animal?"
You
Uh,
can go ahead.
yeah, I don't know if we have the Photo Explorer up and running yet, so you can do this in a single picture. But yeah, like I said, if you want to do it in bulk, you can add your own AI engine in there. You just add your API key for Gemini or any Olama source, even if you run your own large model local. However, I don't think we have the.
It's close. It's not wired yet. It's not loading in the right place, but yeah. So explore this location on the web. You can choose different places or explore external web searches. So Google Lens, things like that. So you can choose different places and hand it off. We haven't finished wiring this, but yeah, you can send to different places now or open it in an external editing application, etc. So, and that lets you pick where you're sending it. So, yeah, this is one of the things we're still finishing.
All right, next question is from Seymour. JC mentioned this version might do a health check on vaults using checksums. Can we talk about that?
Let me
Yeah,
let me expand. Okay, Deon, you remember this?
yep. So we will do as part of the upgrade process from Mali to Olam, we are going to recheck every file that there is. So as a once-off, and then we will have the ability to do a periodic checksum to check for bit rot, which is actually a thing.
And for
So
those of you who don't know what those terms were, it basically means that your file is starting to corrupt because the storage media it's on is having issues, and we can warn you and let you get a good copy of it from somewhere else.
yeah, then it will be marked as quarantined, and then we'll immediately try and copy the file over from another storage, and then tell you that the drive is, well, it's not necessarily a bad drive. Bitrot could just be cosmic rays. It's not necessarily an indication of something bad going on. But
Yeah.
we'll let you know and then recover from that.
And I wanted earlier, remember we talked about locations. Not only can you save the location, but you can go ahead and copy and paste. So instead of having to tag one photo at a time, I could just go in for all my untagged pictures and say copy, and then select the range of pictures. Like if I had tagged that with Universal Studios, and then when I click paste, I could just paste location. Or I can go in and do paste special where I get super specific of what I'm pasting. But you can tag less and reuse more. So we have lots of copy and paste, lots of opportunities to make more generalized metadata like this place or this group of people. So it should make it a lot easier to do organization.
All right, next question is from Tatiana. I'm about to revamp a large history of photos and I use Lightroom Classic. A new system could really change how I set this up. Is there anything public that could be shared about the new Lightroom updates?
The Lightroom updates are just that there is a connector so you can browse a Lightroom library. I would suggest ultimately we're doing that to make it easier for people who are between systems. But if you want to really take the advantage of all the benefits of Mylio, then I would try to move those pictures into Mylio. But the goal of that is that you'll be able to say, oh, I want to go to my connections. And you see there's different types of connections. And so, oh, I want to connect to Lightroom. And you could choose different Lightroom catalogs, manually navigate to it, etc., select, and then it will start to connect it. and you install the plugin inside of Lightroom. And then we'll index your Lightroom folder as a watch folder, meaning that we won't let you delete things in it or anything else, but it's a special folder that Mylio can see and can do stuff with, and you can browse it. And then, if you go into your views and you're just looking at your overall system, you'll have it. And so you could choose, to group and see things by section, for example. And then you'll actually have a section for Lightroom. And there's my Lightroom library coming in. It's starting to connect. It's seeing some of the things in there, right? And it will continue to connect, and it's just scanning and loading. I didn't open up a big Lightroom library because I didn't want to sit there and let it churn. But you can go through and see all of that stuff, and it will connect. And you'll see on the individual pictures when you do have that connection turned on. Let me just go ahead here and bring this up. So settings and library. And I'm having one of those days here where my brain just isn't working. File handling, here we go. Yeah, so I think it's because I don't have the beta features turned on right now, but it lets you connect. You have your watch folder. You can go in here and you can tell it whether or not it syncs and what it does. Do you push the metadata? Do you want to read changes that you made in Lightroom and pull them in? It will pass over any Lightroom edits. If you crop, it can share the crop and it'll apply it into Mylio non-destructively. So you have that ability there to keep it there, and it will bring in read-only copies of albums and things like that. So it's a watch folder so that you can see it, and makes it a little bit easier to keep it connected. So that's something that's not going to be part of the public preview, but it's something that we're finishing out right now to make it simpler. And then you can start to connect, and it will pick up the folder and the content and rebuild. And you can add to multiple Lightroom catalogs. You can open up a Lightroom catalog even without having Lightroom running. Like maybe you have multiple Lightroom catalogs that you want to add. We let you add all of them, and then you can browse them as if they were folders each.
Awesome. Okay, question from Carla. Is it possible to show file name view and copy and paste those file names into a spreadsheet? So if you're looking at a folder and you go into the view where you're seeing it with all the file names, is that copy and pastable?
This is not currently, so you're talking about like you're in a folder and I'll just flatten this and go to list view, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no export feature yet. That doesn't mean that there can't be, but Deon, you would know better. But this is that list view. We don't have that as an export feature, but we do have the ability to export keyboard shortcuts, and we do have another couple of exports. That's something we can consider. Is there a reason why we couldn't export a spreadsheet from a folder view or a view?
Yeah, there's no specific reasons for that, but like I said, Olim has always been, or sorry, Mylio has always been about power users. So what you'll actually have from the beginning is I don't know if a lot of people have worked with the Mylio console. We've extended that console, and it's now available as an SSH session. With the result is it is actually available to local AI agents. So if you use something like Claude Cowork, you can give it a file from Mylio and say, connect to Mylio, and there's a way to set up the permissions, and take all of my selected images and import it as a file names into Excel, and it will actually be able to do that. So we have all of that functionality available. So this list of images that Rich just selected, there is actually a console command that you can say, give me all of the file names for that, and they say to CSV, so it will give it to you as a spreadsheet format. And this is a little bit complicated to do by hand, but you'll absolutely be able to use your own AI agent if you use something like Claude Cowork or Claude Code or anything like that to have the ability to do that. I can hook this specific functionality up in this view as well, so that you can use our own model here to export to, let's say, a PDF or a CSV file. That's not a lot of work. I'll do that for you guys.
Yeah. So you'll be able to interact with selections and content and do things and everything else. So you'll see that lots of views have AI, and that's also a place to chat or ask questions. It's not meant to be a replacement for human interaction, but we also know that a lot of times you just want to be able to do something. So we have that in there, so it's nice and easy to do things like that.
Awesome. Okay, next question from Jamie. Will you be able to lock photos? For instance, protect important pictures from accidental edits or batch changes?
Um, so you have the ability to hide photos. We've not talked, you have the ability to watch a folder. So a watched folder is one that we let you set limits on. We have not thought about extending that to an individual photo. I'm sure there's some issues with that, but a watched folder would have some restrictions as to what you can do with a watched folder. And so we have that as part of our importing tool, but we can look at what that looks like for other things. But when you're browsing and doing stuff and you're deciding, what to do, you have the ability when you choose a particular folder. Let me go up to folder view. Hold on. You can decide that that folder is limited, and I'll just go to the top level. And so at the top level, I can add in new folders. And then when I pick a folder, for example, I have the ability to say that this is a watched folder. And what that means is it's got some restrictions. Like I could browse and modify and do Mylio edits and add to albums, but I can't move or do destructive edits or delete or rename or change the organization. So that's the concept of link versus manage. And so we're working to kind of make that a little bit clearer. And you can also, I know this is something people have asked for. We have the ability for you to, set your cover while you're going through. You can browse what's in a folder and choose, what you want its cover to be. So as long as there's actual pictures in there we go. So you can go ahead and click and then browse and set the cover right there. And, even decide that you want to assign a color to the folder on the way in. You can assign categories to the folder on the way in so that you can pre-categorize before you bring it in. And you can even tell it what section it's going to go in your library of where you want to route it.
Awesome. All right, from Lori, any updates to batch face tagging? Currently, it seems to loop and doesn't feel very efficient.
I'm not sure what you mean by loop. If you mean like as you train it, it gets familiar with more and more pictures. That's what batch face tagging does. There's some improvements to batch face tagging. Let me go here. It may not be ready because yeah.
You've turned your face tagging off when you imported your library.
Oh, okay. So I'll go under AI. Actually, this will be
activities. It's under activities.
Yeah. Okay. So I can start to type and find, but you're saying it's under my activities monitor, so it's not a setting. So there we go. And so I just need to turn it back on.
Yeah, but it'll have to run.
Okay. So we have added the ability to see the overview of the photo while you do it. And there's been a few other improvements. Like you have the ability to sort by date, to keep the pictures organized by date so that as you're doing browsing of loosely tagged photos, you don't have them so random. And you have the ability to see if more than one person is in the picture when you go to review it, each picture will be there. So he doesn't like go to do all person one and then load it. So sometimes what was happening before with those loops was that the person you were tagging wasn't the first person in the photo that popped up. So if I had three people like a group shot down here, it would only show that picture one time in the batch tagging grid. And so after you tagged one person, then it would go to the next face. Now, if you have a photo and there's 7 untagged faces, all 7 show up in the grid. So it's easier to do grouping. So we split those apart. So I guess technically that could have gotten in your way of batch tagging before. So now each face is shown in the batch tag view as opposed to each picture.
All right. Next question is from Nove. What of the features are applied to video files? I think it probably might be easier to say of all the stuff we've talked about, is there anything that we've talked about that does not apply to video?
I mean, now then you have a video clip. I showed you that you had basic editing for videos and you can string clips together. our intent, although we haven't gotten to that point of testing yet, is that, if I apply color correction to one of our videos, that, you can actually then include that when you export. So if I have a video clip and it's a touch dark and, I say, hey, I want to go ahead and enhance that. And, I drop into the editor and I just do a little quick tonal adjustment, right? Like maybe I feel like the white balance is off just a little bit, or I want to just, bump up the exposure a little. You can go through and make some of those changes. And then you could, of course, as we said, do your basic edits and trims and then export it out. So I, of course, picked a video that was in my Apple Photos library, which is not connected because it's the beta. But you can make adjustments to your videos that way. Here we go. I got some video that's on my hard drive. So if I go ahead and I enhance that, you could see that the color corrections do apply. And I can go ahead and, adjust the exposure, the highlights. We are also supporting HDR processing, not on video specifically, but on photos. So like it's a little bit easier there. Like look at the dynamic range there, having a little more control to do lightweight color correction on a video clip. So
We
if
are
I've got a
supporting
video,
we are supporting HDR on video.
there you go. Yeah, so you can see how we're recovering the highlights there and the shadows independently. So look at how we're processing and doing shadow lift. And so that's pretty impressive there, how I was able to color correct the video right here. And, there's my saturation and, I could adjust. And so I could do quite a bit there to improve it and, go ahead and adjust my vignette effect and the feather. And, I can go in and adjust my trimming points to set my in and out point. And then when you're all set and you go to the share menu, you'll have the ability to export video. We're not done with wiring that part up, but you should be able to make a new video, which is great. And then additionally, in the export menu now, you'll also see more control over things when you go to do an export. We give you just a little bit more control. And so you can apply more control over your watermarks. So when you go to export now and you decide what you want to do, we've really done a nice job of cleaning this up. What are my file formats? What are the dimensions I want? The image quality? Do I want to keep the folder structure intact or do I want to make new folders? But you have a full-on watermark tool. So you can decide to, add your copyright information or you could drop in a logo and, you can watermark your pictures. You can decide that you want to include, like the date on that watermark and you could adjust the relative size of that and where it's positioned, which corner it pins off of, so that no matter what the crop is, it always goes at that same size off of that corner. So these are proportional. So it'll always be the same size, even if the pictures are different resolution. And you can go in and pick from a wide range of fonts and adjust the opacity and the size of that and the tracking. So you could do some pretty robust options in there for that and even add things onto it. So there you go. So you have more control when you export, and that includes the ability to export video. The AI features of indexing video is not something that our models will do, but there are models out there for indexing video, and you can attach one of them if you want. They generally involve cloud processing, but hopefully as that technology improves and there becomes options for local processing, we'll keep moving our tools forward. But for us, it's very important that the processing happens on your device and doesn't leave your device.
All right, Jacqueline wants to know what, if anything, has been done with the editing tools. Have we added anything new for photo editing?
Sure. So we showed some of that. So there is the HDR support part that we talked about. So that means that you can do more with your HDR. Let me go ahead and just tag him there. So the this library hasn't finished the analysis yet, but we have added some of the refinements. So there we go. So I've got clipping turned on right there. There we go. Turn it off. That's just showing me the clipped highlights. So you'll be able to hand off to edit to your favorite tools. We are doing some ability for the HDR processing. So that gives you more recovery range. Like look at the actual recovery there. So here, and this photo to be clear.
Rich, just one thing, you can't show HDR over Zoom.
Oh, okay. So are they not seeing, well, but are you seeing the highlight recovery, just the range, or is it not coming through?
You see the range, but it will clip the HDR part.
Oh, okay. Zoom doesn't support HDR. Well, but I have more dynamic range and recovery over my shadows and highlights, and that's a nice benefit. So yeah, and you will have a styles tab. It's not wired up yet, but this is a support for lookup tables, which means that you could have lots of recipes. And we've dramatically improved the cropping tool to give you more control as you crop so that you can have better composition and really work with your favorite composition rules to understand what you're doing as you're doing your crop.
All right, next up, Cleveland would like to know if there's any significant improvements or changes in spaces.
So there's two types of ways that spaces are used. Spaces for multiple person access is something we're not going to talk about today. That's like family members and collaboration. So we'll be doing a significant update to our family plans and how multiple people can collaborate and work together. But if you want to use organization tools, you can create a workspace. And when you do that, you have the ability to edit it. And so when you make it, you can choose to go off of categories, or we'll actually add it. You can add a smart album. It's just not turned on in this version. So you'll be able to make a workspace off of a smart album so that you can have a set of rules that defines what's shown. So that's the ability to go in and browse it that way. And so then you have them and they're nice and organized. And with just a click, you can narrow things down. And that lets you very quickly switch between them. But on top of that, we also have workflows, and that's what tools are shown on the screen. So if you just want to see your basic tools, or you want to go in and see the photo sharing setup or make changes, this will adjust what's visible on the screen from the tools point of view. And you can go in and modify that very quickly. So you can go ahead and choose when you make a workflow what's visible. So this lets you simplify the user interface to have less clutter while you're working. So both of those are there. So there's workspaces and workflows. Permission-based spaces are something we'll talk about later when we get talking about family plans and business plans. And that's where you can set rules over what you share between people, but that's a topic for a different day.
Excellent. So question from Tatiana, can the import recipes be set up to import different file types to different locations all at once? For example, videos in one folder, raw in another, and all others in a third location. So can it splinter and imports if you're importing a big batch into different folders?
I understand the question. I don't know. I haven't thought through that one yet.
At the moment, you'd have to split it into 3 imports, but it's actually a reasonable request to say that you have the recipe itself should take into account part of the picture. Yeah, that's a reasonable request. We haven't done that yet.
So what the workflow recipe is, and this is in the advanced view, I'm glad you saw that, is you can go through and set everything up. I want to copy. I want to apply this type of organization. And split it out by year, month, date, camera. I want this type of renaming. I want these categories. I want to stack my HDRs. I want to flag the bad ones. I want to add this metadata on import, right? So we can think about that because we do have, when you have a selection available with multiple pictures, we do have a tool that shows up that kind of lets you choose the what it's going to do under what to import. And so this is where we were thinking about where you skip or include. But yeah, that's a reasonable request, and file it when we put the public beta and the survey out, or the public preview out, and we can look at that. And then once you've set all of that up, you just save it as a recipe. And it is all the settings here. So if you have like metadata tags, like, oh, this is a professional shoot, I want my business information, or, oh, I'm importing 5 cards and I went on vacation and I just want to tag it with the entire island if I don't have geotags. And so with that metadata and those types of behaviors, you do have control, for example, to only have it add information if it wasn't there. So if you imported something that had a mixture of geotagged and not geotagged, you can assign a generic location that was bigger, but leave off override existing values, and it's only going to geotag the pictures that didn't have a specific geotag. That way your phone pictures didn't get overwritten. So we have some pretty cool options there. Oh, hey, go ahead and if I've already keyworded some, leave it, but on the ones I didn't, go ahead and add these keywords. So we have some pretty cool options in there for the power users, but that's the advanced importer. Hopefully, for those of you that just want something simple, the simple importer, or even a wizard-based one, so you could just go and say, what am I trying to do? Browse a memory card, right? So you can quickly find the different things that you're looking for and jump right into it. Okay.
See, Nova's asking about the AI and wanting to know if it will continue to learn as I use it.
Yeah, keep in mind that AI on your machine doesn't really do learning. It does what's called embeddings. Um, so there are ways that we will do, for example, burst groupings of as you classify things, it will be grouped together with other things. But the fundamental model that we have, for example, to know that that's a seashell, that's a predefined AI engine that we pick up, and that we'll periodically update. So the current one that we're using is Cyclip 2 from Google, and we'll just keep on updating the models as they are available.
But Dan, do you want to show the level? Do you want to show like what it actually indexes so people understand why you can do those great searches, like how much it can see? Do you share or not? Or you're
Sure,
not
sure. Yeah, I'll go through the list of things that's indexing.
Okay.
Hold on
And
one
we'll take
second.
another question while you find a good picture up. I put you on the spot. I just asked you cold. So let's take one more question and then we can pop back to Deon when he's got a picture open and shared and he can show you what the AI can index and you have the ability to opt in or opt out of that sharing. So let's do another question really quick and then
Yep.
we'll jump to Deon's screen.
Perfect. So from Richard, he's asking about tutorial updates. Yes, there will be many updated tutorials. We're working on a brand new manual. Our AI support chat will have updated references. So there'll be a lot of new materials to help you get acquainted. Also recommend checking out our live events and coming to our coffee breaks. We're going to be covering in-depth small sections of this new release over the coming month and obviously as we move forward. So there's going to be a lot of updated learning opportunities.
Yeah. And there's like, you could do an hour just on using the video editing tool or an hour just on using the memory maker tool, the who, where, what, why, when tool, but that's a really long name. So we called it memory maker, but it's a who, what, where, when, why, when search.
All
All right,
right, Peter, are
Dan.
you
So,
ready?
yep.
Yeah, so I'll go over the different models, and there's some things that we're still experimenting with to see exactly how well they work. But fundamentally, the way that we run this model is we ask the model, give us certain excerpts, and we do it for both videos and documents. So in documents, this key findings, summary, people, places, dates, etc. These are questions that we specifically ask for the AI. So we say, load this document, and we ask you those questions. So what we want to be able to do is to give you the ability for a picture to say, ask these questions of the picture as you import it. So it's not quite hooked up, but we'll figure out a good user interface for this. So for example, you can say, if you want to classify this, for example, let's say, is this oriented at a 45-degree angle or something like that? And then the AI can come back and give you a yes/no answer, and then based on that, you can do a property over here that will show what the AI does. So in terms of the individual models that we have so far, so these are the various AI models. So burst grouping, like I said, we will group things together, and that's just used internally by clustering. Photo context analysis, that has to do with the on analysis status, trips, holidays, and best sorts at assisted culling, document summarization is what I've just shown you. And then document indexing, there's two types of document indexes. The one is what's called a sparse index, and the other one is a dense index. So the difference is you can search for an exact word inside a document, as well as you can do a semantic search. So you can use a term that doesn't exist in the document at all, but if the document is relevant to that term, it'll return it to you. Exposure analysis is not, sorry, Rich?
Yeah. And I was just going to say, because there's a couple of questions on this, because some of you know that these things suck power. So under those three dots, you can choose whether or not it works on battery power. And under the AI settings, you have the ability, we're exploring different ways of what controls, but it sounds like some of you want to be able to set a range of like, only do this during this time of day when I'm not at the computer working, like run at night. So
Yeah.
those are all things we're looking at. And there's a lot of granularity. You can opt in and out of specific models. So if you could just go to the AI settings tab, Deon, really quick under settings, and you'll see one down under library and content that you have a full set of controls. There we go. Sorry, data analysis, a full set of controls. So you could decide which activities happen and which analyzers are used and which ones do you opt out of. So you'll be able to choose that sort of stuff and opt in or out. Like maybe you are interested in object detection, but you don't want face detection. So we're fine tuning these things now. The settings are one of the last things we have to still do, but we are thinking about that is what I'm trying to let you know.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so definitely these settings are for us to tune the models internally. We shouldn't make you want to choose a KV cast quantization. It means something to a developer. It doesn't actually mean something to you, but it helps us tune the model. So that's why they're there right now. We'll maybe leave it in preview so that if you have questions about this, and we can say, hey, try and tune this because I don't have 56 gigs of RAM. So maybe I want to run a AI model that runs in 35 gigs of RAM, or I want to run a phone model on a desktop because it's my desktop is a little bit less power. So you can actually step it down and run it in as little as 4 gigs of VRAM. So there's definitely there is infinite customization. We are trying to actually make the customization more obvious. But yeah, it is there. And if you look at the activities, you'll see there's a whole bunch of models. There are internal like quality scoring, etc., and any old legacy ones that we have like SmartAct, etc. Our audio transcription is something that Rich hasn't shown yet. That's basically our ability to go through a video, getting the audio track out of there, and then index on the audio track so you can search for a particular video based on something that somebody said.
And then you could have that transcript tucked in with the video file so that it's there
Right.
and as a text file that's embedded and grouped with the video clip in the grid. So we have all sorts of things related to grouping and stacking and lots more for other days. So when we get ready to do a second public preview, we'll do another webinar and go through some of the other features. I cannot emphasize enough that we have only scratched the surface here. There will be tons of educational events and deep dives on different areas, but sincerely, thank you for your patience. We have been working very hard on this for a long time, and we wanted to pull back the curtain today and let you see what we were working on. You can see some of the bumps and things like that, but our intention is that we will let it out, the preview out the door this month so that you can start to work on it. And the preview will be something that you can play with and give feedback. And then 3 weeks to a month after that, we'll let another one out the door for some feedback. And then throughout the rest of this year, we'll be getting it all finished up. And our goal is to ship all the full functionality before the end of the year. But you will be able to have Mylio running on individual devices much sooner than that, so you can start to play and work with it. We'll just be filling in the rest of the tools, like some of the syncing and the sharing tools and things like that. But we're very excited by this and the new search tools and the ability to find and discover. And there's a lot more to show you, but just not today because we've been talking for 2 hours. And Deon, thank you too for joining us. Deon is our chief product officer. So, Deon is our chief software architect, I should say. So Deon designs all of the main systems that we use and how everything is put together. And he's been with the team for a long time, and he designs a lot of these ideas that you're seeing of how do we make this data discoverable. And I cannot tell you how excited I am about some of the speed improvements and the search improvements that I've seen coming. So we're very happy with this, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Please take the survey, the questions that we've put out there, and we'll be reaching out more. And Angela, you've got an event this Friday scheduled already, right? Where you're going to be looking at some stuff?
I am, yeah. So for Friday, please make sure you join our coffee break and go to community.mylio.com/events and find everything we have coming up. You can sign up for Friday's session at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. And we're going to start diving into some of these areas of Mylio, give you a chance to have a closer look. These are going to be about 20-minute sessions, so you don't have to hang out for 2 hours every time. And we'll just focus in on the things that you want to know and obviously give you a chance to give feedback. So it's going to be a really great way for you to help shape what Mylio is becoming, where we're going. I do want to emphasize that what we showed you today is going to be rolling out over the rest of the year. I know everybody's really excited to get this into their hands. I am too, but we want to make sure everything is stable and working well. And that's where your feedback's going to come in really handy. So when we have that preview available, make sure you download it and share what you think, because that's what's really going to determine how this all goes.
Yep. And we don't need you to file bugs. We definitely know that there are bugs. What we need to know about is functionality or gaps and logic where, hey, I really wanted the ability to export a spreadsheet like you did today, or, oh, I love this organize feature. Could you consider adding this? And so there are hundreds of feature requests that have made it into the product. We very much studied the support logs. We very much looked at the forum and the community post. And, that's why so many of these things are in there, is because lots of you asked for it. So we've been working on this, but so you can understand that there are basically four teams that work on the product. One group is working on the core performance, the database, the speed, the stability. Another group works on the file format support and what we can open and browse and index and the AI. Another group works on the documentation and the customer support and the experience. And another group works on the user interface and the design and the parts that you're there. So when you complain about a user interface thing or you want a feature, sometimes that touches two areas of the product. Sometimes it touches three. So we balance all of this out. But with this new version of Mylio, I hope you're seeing a tremendous amount of opportunity for you to extend it. You can add in your own analysis. You can connect other apps that you use. You can add support for other file types. So we're very excited by what's coming, and we hope you are too. So thank you guys very much for coming out today. And we'll start posting articles and having events so you can start seeing things. And thank you again, Deon, for making time today.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah, thank you, Rich and Deon, for all of the information. Truly, truly valuable. And thank you also to Lori, JC, Michael, and John for answering questions as we go through. Hope everybody enjoyed this. We did record. I'm guessing we'll have this up usually within about 24 hours in the community. If you want to watch the replay, or for some reason you missed some of it, that'll be there. Um, Let us know what you think. Go ahead and post in the community, and we look forward to showing you more. Thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next time.